I mean, there's a lot to be done in the communities, but I just want to tell the YALI members to get out of their ways, to get out of their comfort zones, and help someone who cannot pay them back.
Yes, we can, sure we can change the world.
This is the YALI Voices podcast, your home for sharing the best stories from the Young African Leaders Initiative Network. In this edition of YALI Voices, we spend time with Selina Nkoile.
My name is Selina Nkoile, Nkoile.
Selina is from Mosiro in Kenya's Rift Valley. She is a youth advocate and a fierce supporter of the right of women and girls to receive a formal education. Right now, Selina is doing all she can to keep open a school dedicated to serving young girls in her Maasai community, including going door to door to make sure all eligible girls and their families are aware of their rights. It's a very tough job, and one for which she receives no compensation. For her, the work of letting girls learn has its own rewards.
Currently, I'm a community volunteer, and I'm also a trained youth advocate on sexual reproductive health and right issues. And we've been working with the community ever since I completed high school, because I did not get a chance to go to college. Because in my community, mostly, they don't value girls and also girls' education. So you will be so lucky to get a chance to go to college, because that would mean selling off a lot of cows, which cows are the most important assets in our community. First of all, when I was growing up as a kid, my mom went through a lot of domestic violence, but she managed to bring us up, and we were able to go to primary school. And I managed to go to primary is through this organization that came to our village in 1989 and found out that girls' education was at 0.2%, and they decided to construct a girls' boarding school.
Selina got a chance for an education when Marjorie Kabuya, at the time director of the Christian Children's Fund, came to her community and convinced the leaders to let her build a girls' boarding school. It was not easy. Agreements had to be reached and attitudes had to be changed. Selina shares some of the beliefs the chiefs and elders held, and then what happened next for her.
They were saying, no, we're not going to sign. I mean, girls are just girls and they need to be married. They don't belong to us. They belong to their husbands. So some of them signed and the school was constructed. And now that's how I got to get the chance to go to school, because our parents were talked to and they were told that the project wanted to book girls for education instead of booking them for marriage. So they would go to villages and enroll children and take pictures of us and send to the States and other countries. And we would get sponsors and they would write us very nice letters and stickers. And so with time, we were able to complete school. I was among the first class, and we were like the best in the whole county, and we all managed to go to high school. So now that's when the problems began, because now the community would wonder how on earth girls would outshine boys and how they would do well than boys, and that was unacceptable, and they started attacking the project. And the project just decided to hand over the school to the government. And they were not yet finished with the project because they were still constructing more structures like the dining hall and the teachers' quarters. But now they stopped it there. And as we speak, the management changed. The managing director is no longer Marjorie. But now her dream of 1,000 girls, she didn't mean 1,000 girls enrolling to school. She meant 1,000 girls enrolling school and completing primary education and secondary education, and even maybe get to university or colleges and change their lives and the lives of their families.
With the change in management of the school, the prospects for reaching the goal of educating 1,000 girls dwindled, and the number of girls enrolled in the school dropped below 100.
The project departed, so they were no longer supporting the school. And the sponsorships became less, because when we were there, we had a lot of sponsors, the sponsors were not helping us directly, they were helping the project, meaning the school would go on so well, we would have food, they would buy uniform for us, and we would have free boarding facilities, so we didn't pay anything for school fees. So now when the project departed, it meant that kids were supposed to pay school fees now, because boarding fee and water. But now everything just changed and girls had to pay school fees. It was now different because most of the Maasai families are polygamous, and you can find a man with, let's say, 3 wives, and the 3 wives have maybe 10 kids each, or one might have 5 kids. And you can imagine 10 kids being paid 3,000 per term for school fees. That will be so much for our fathers, and they will just prefer marrying off some of the girls. And usually the husbands don't pay much, they just pay some cows. And due to these droughts and the climate change, because I believe as the pastoral communities are the ones who feel the climate change the most, because droughts are now longer than they were, and cows have nothing to eat. So now they just prefer selling off girls for some cows so that they can get some money. So that's what brought a change to the school, because now girls were not being enrolled like before. It was just a few girls coming to school, and the performance also started going down. So now girls were not excelling, and there were no numbers of them coming to school anymore. And that's what made the enrollment go down to less than 100. So I started a community-based organization. I named it Nashifa Maasai Community Project. Nashifa is a Maasai word meaning happiness, and it has like 2 meanings, because Nashifa is a place where people are happy, and also Nashifa is a Maasai name meaning happiness. And we started with a friend of mine called Gemini Mau from the UK. And yeah, I was just giving her this idea, and she just advised me that we start it. And also I was able to talk to some girls from my community, one called Beatrice, and we were able to bring together some youths from my community and explained to them what was going on and how we need to come in and be the change that we really want to see. And most of these youths we called were the youths who are educated and who went to school, who know the importance of education, and who are even earning from education, because if you have an education, it's easy for you to get a job. And we brought them together. I remember we held the meeting at Kiserian. It's somewhere in town, because it was after at some training we were being given some jobs on, it was voters registration, so there were many of them. So we called them and explained what is happening in the school. The school is called Naning'oi Girls, and we told them that if we just sit down and wait, we can never have change. So we just asked them that we really need to do something about this, because this school will be even shut down by the government, because if there are no kids in school, they are performing very poorly, then there is no future for that school. And the aim for that school was to empower girls and to let girls learn, which is now something that's not being seen. So we came to a conclusion that we are going to borrow some organizations' cars, because we don't have any car, and we will also see if we can get some policemen, because it's in the village and people still fear law, and like if they see the police, they cooperate. So we went to 2 organizations, but it's only one that gave us a car. And our plan was to do this for 3 days, but unfortunately we only did for 1 day, and it was just one trip. So we went to one of the villages called Ngila, and we brought 23 girls. And the next, after that hour, we went to another village called Deiti, and we brought 22 girls. There was like 45 altogether. And after that, the driver and the police ate lunch and they left. So that was what we were able to do. And then after that, some 5 girls also ran away by themselves. Like they would come home, find that their sisters are not there, and they ran to school. So it got to 50.
Selina shares more about the challenges facing young Maasai girls in her community and why it was so important for her to get them into school.
So in Kenya, the age for marriage is 18 years and above. A girl can only be married if she has a national identity card. And also the school age going kids are usually between the ages of 5 and above. So the kids that we were bringing are the grown girls, the girls that are supposed to be in school. And surprisingly, most of them were even booked for marriage. So it was even lucky for them to come to school because 3 of the girls that we brought were already booked for marriage. And in a couple of weeks, they were to be married in some few weeks. And everything was done. And some of them, their dowry was already paid. But now we brought them to school. So we were bringing the grown girls and the ones that we knew would be married because we interact with the community and we know the men who don't take girls to school. And we have one of the men who we brought 5 of his kids to school. There is also this child labor, but indirectly, like you give your kid to another home, you give her away to another parent to take care of the kids for her or to take care of animals. So that's kind of child labor, and that kid is supposed to be in school. So most of the kids, we also found them in some other people's homes, not their real homes. They are from far, but they are at other people's homes. So we were just bringing them all. We were putting them all in the car and bringing them to school.
For Selina, serving these young girls and helping them get an education is not about how she will benefit financially.
It's voluntary, because if we wait until we get money, that means there's no future for girls in our village. So we just had to do it with the little we had, because after we brought them to school, we called another youth meeting and asked people to support us, to just give anything they have. Because these girls needed uniforms, they needed soap and oil, and they needed to be comfortable in school. They needed mattresses to sleep on. So we had to we would have gone on collecting girls, but now where they sleep was a problem because all the beds are broken and they don't have mattresses and beddings. So we had to make sure that the 50 we brought are okay and they are comfortable in school so that we can go and get more. Like 29th of this month, we are planning to get more of them. We are making plans on how they will be fed and how they will sleep comfortably. So with the 50 we brought, at least they have uniforms. We were able to raise money and bought them school uniforms, and they stayed in school over the holiday. And I also got money. I asked for money from friends and we bought them food, and they were eating good food during the holiday. We were able to buy them mattresses through the help of Gemini's friends. They fundraised and we bought mattresses and beddings for them. Yeah, it's something voluntary and we don't get paid for it. Currently, I'm the only volunteer at the community because most of the other youths who are supporting are working, and actually it's only 2 of them because these young men are tending to shy away from this because I think they just fear. I don't know why they fear, because they were telling me that, do you know what a curse is? Like somebody cursing you. So they were saying that the parents will be angry at us and curse us. But I always tell them, as long as you're doing the right thing, there's no way anybody can just do anything to you. If anything, the parents who are marrying off kids at an early age are the ones to die of the curses that they are throwing to us. So most of them are shying off. I'm hoping they'll join us along the way. But for now, it's only me and this one other lady working at Magadi Soda and one of this school board of management. He's the chairman. So these are the only people right now involved in this and just trying to help out.
This is clearly a very important project to Selina. It is one that she embarked on knowing that she was not going to make a lot of money or get paid for it. And yet, she keeps doing it.
It's important to me because right now I can speak to you because I went to school, and I know if I went to college, because I only did a permaculture course, if I went to college and maybe got a degree, it would be because of education, and that degree would earn me a job that would support me and my family and my other family when I get married. So I know that education is the only way to a good future, and education is the only way to an empowered society. So my heart bleeds knowing that there are many kids out in the village who are being denied this opportunity to school. And so that's what I decided, that I will do it until I'll see that the girls have gone to school. That's when my dream will come true.
Every July 18th is Mandela Day. It's a day of service across the world. What would Selina say to YALI Network members about what they should do to volunteer?
I mean, there's a lot to be done in the communities. Most of us are just staying there comfortable in the cities, working and earning and making their families okay. But I just want to tell the YALI members to get out of their ways, to get out of their comfort zones and help a person who is not able to maybe help a child who is not able to afford an education, or help someone who cannot pay them back.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another YALI Voices podcast. And thank you, Selina, for spending time with us and for all the ways you serve your community. Be sure to come back for more inspiring stories from young African leaders on the YALI Voices podcast. Join the YALI network at yali.state.gov and be a part of something bigger. Our theme music is Ego Happen by Grace Jerry and produced by the Presidential Precinct. The YALI Voices podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Department of State and is part of the Young African Leaders Initiative, which is funded by the U.S. government.